Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here on a wonderful Friday evening, June 19th, with Sugar Shane Caldwell to work on some KBO and keep our hot streak alive. How are you doing, Sugar Shane?
I'm doing really good there, I do really like this slate. There's some interesting value plays, some big stacks going on, and the pitching is kind of wide open. So we're going to really have to dissect the pitching and the matchups, and there's a lot of ways we could go here. So yeah, I do kind of like the slate here. So I think we can find some good plays.
This is going to be a fun show because normally we do a little pre-show activity where we'll go through, our stacks and different things that we like or dislike. But here in good old Dallas, Texas, we had a monster storm blow through, and I was without power until about 10 minutes ago. So we are fortunate that we're able to at least get this podcast going and rolling. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to the earlier podcast from today, Andrew and I went over the PGA for this weekend. Really came up with some good plays and some exciting stuff both on DraftKings and Fanduel. So check that out if you can. And we are going to move through this show so that we can get it posted for everybody to listen to and check out so we don't run out of time tonight. So a couple of things real quickly. It is a regular 5-game slate. It's a 3 a.m. start. That's correct, Shane, right?
Yeah, 3 a.m. Central, 4 a.m. Eastern, right? Yeah, yep.
Exactly. So 4 Eastern, 3 Central. So it's earlier than the normal 5:30 Eastern start, but it's not a split slate. All 5 games are played at the same time. I will be in Discord 30 minutes before lock, and probably Shane and Andrew will find their way in there as well, I would assume. Oh, yeah. And the weather looks great. There was just a small chance of rain in one spot, but not enough to even worry about. We are not going to think about that as an issue whatsoever. But again, one of our big advantageous things here at Coach Talk are the fact that with KBO, we are in Discord before lock, 30 minutes before lock on all those crazy times in the middle of the night, so that we don't take any zeros. And I'll tell you, Shane, we have been hot, man. We have had some nice takedowns lately. I want to keep this going.
Yeah. No, I think that with the podcast, with us analyzing and doing a lot of research and then kind of going back and forth and, taking little nuggets from each other there and combining our knowledge, it's worked out. It's worked out great for lineup construction and for finding some hidden gems and everything. So yeah, we're ready to keep rolling.
There's no doubt. And, talking it through, walking through it, looking at it, we supply full lineups for Fanduel and a real solid player pool for DraftKings. And if you want to jump in, we're at dfscoachtalk.com. If you join today or anytime here in the near future, you get the next 42 days without anything counting towards your membership, because 42 days from today we'll be watching the NBA. So I'm ecstatic for that. So anyway, yeah, just join if you want to join for a week, a month, whatever. Again, you get to be in here in our Discord, see all of our selections, and try it all out basically for free for the next 6 weeks or 5 weeks, whatever it is. And then the clock starts on memberships on July 30th. So we're excited about that. We want to thank our 2 main sponsors for they are the ones that make this show possible, and it's MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag for all your sports wagering and casino action. And get an exclusive offer just for Coach Talk members. You get a 50% sign-up bonus all the way up to $1,000 and a $25 free play just for joining. But you have to join through dfscoachtalk.com and put in the promo code CoachTalk, all one word. And also our friends at TVG. I was telling Andrew and I started talking all about the horses because tomorrow's Belmont Day. So that's pretty cool. Bizarre though, because I followed horses my whole life, and it's always the Derby, the Preakness, and then the Belmont. So in this weird COVID world that we live, the Belmont is going to be the first jewel tomorrow, and they've shortened the race from the normal 1.5 miles down to 1.1 miles. So everything's different, but it's going to be fun. But I think I mentioned to you before, I'm ecstatic though, because my daughter Alyssa gets married tomorrow, so I will be at a wedding,
Nice.
and it's my first of my 3 that are getting married. So I am pretty fired up about that.
Congratulations.
So thank you, thank you.
That's
And
awesome.
so Andrew and Shane will be, running the whole show tomorrow while I'm doing the fatherly stuff, and so that's going to be great. But anyway, TVG with the Belmont tomorrow, great opportunity, exclusive offer, can't get it anywhere else other than going through dfscoachtalk.com, signing up for TVG, and you get a risk-free $300 bet. So if you do like somebody in the Belmont tomorrow, you join, put $300 in. If the horse wins, you bet him to win for $300. You cash out big time. If he loses, TVG gives you the $300 back. So you cannot beat it. I mean, it is a great offer, and we really encourage you guys to get involved there. So just one last thing before we get rolling. Definitely check us out on social media. We're on Twitter and YouTube at DFS Coach Talk. We have a full library of podcasts that you can check out on the video portion of YouTube, where those are all stored for basketball, football, and baseball. And we post also on there every day for that day's KBO. And on Wednesdays and Fridays, we're doing baseball as well. So do take a second, rate, review, subscribe. Really important for us. If you hit that subscribe button, hit the little alarm to remind you when our pod is up. It'll tell you, and you can jump in there and take a listen. And on Twitter, and then I promise you we're diving into KBO. You can reach connect with any of us at DFS Coach Talk. We're posting all the time. And I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. He is at DET Sports Shane, all one, because he is Mr. Detroit Sports. And our buddy Andrew is at Language Olympic. All right. Here we go, man. We're going to go through as we normally do, game by game, and I will give you the lines thanks to our partners at mybookie.ag. I'll give you the live lines, walk through those, and then Sugar Shane looks like the master of the Wizard of Oz there. I see you organizing all your papers.
I got all the screens,
got all the
papers,
levers, all the surprise stuff. I love it, man. I absolutely love it. You're just worried I'm going to throw another one of my quizzes on you and get you all stymied.
Exactly. No, the first game is looks like you're going to cover it, but it's a heavy favorite, obviously, with the dinos, not the Dino.
Hey!
What did they call it before? The Dinos?
The Dinos. Awesome. I still love that, man. I forgot about that. Yeah. I only harassed you with the Fred Flintstone and Dino pictures for a couple of days.
Exactly.
You just reminded me. Yes. At the Hanwha Eagles, 9-31, not what you exactly think is too solid. And the NC Dinos at 27-11. And the live line right now is the Dinos minus 277. They are the biggest favorite on the board. Run line minus 133. Over under is 9.5. We have 2 games at 9.5 and 3 at 10.5. So, that's one thing we've noticed. Those run lines are usually pretty close. It's not like Major League Baseball where you'll have a 6 and you'll have a 14. I mean, it's generally, you're in that 8 to 11 range all the time in KBO. And one thing that, for 2 seconds before we got online, we were both saying that there's no plug and play pitchers like there has been 2 or 3 times this week. And the over-unders show that. So there's nothing below a 9.5 in all 5 games. So that will give you a little indication of today. It may be about the bats, and then selecting the right pitchers is definitely going to be the key. So the very first game out of the chute, Hanwha and NC Dinos. What say you, Mr. Detroit Sports Shane?
I mean, obviously, Hanwha's a team that's been struggling. I mean, they've won a few games lately, playing a little better, but they're still a pretty bad lineup. So they're good to attack with the pitcher. So I do like Hock Lee from the Dinos here. He hasn't been dominant really as a pitcher, but he's had some pretty good outings. He had a game a little over 20 fantasy DraftKings points just against Hanwha. A few weeks ago here. So he's a good target, being that there's not a lot of really obvious pitchers here. He's a little more expensive, but I think it is worth paying up because he's obviously, with them being a heavy favorite, he's pretty likely to get the win. If we can get him a quality start on Fanduel, I always talk about that, because if we can get the win and quality start on Fanduel, that's 10 extra points. And with the Hanwha having the highest strikeout rate in the league at 19.9%, almost a 20% strikeout rate, he should be able to rack up some strikeouts as well. So he's $27 on FanDuel and $8,900 on DraftKings. I think it is worth paying up for him, and he'll be one of my main targets for pitchers is Hock Lee from the Dinos. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for attacking a pitching. Now, normally you would think that you would want to stack the Dinos, but they're going up against Warwick Soppold, and he's for Hanwha, and he's a decent pitcher. He's 3-4, but he doesn't really usually have that much run support with Hanwha, right? So, but he's a decent pitcher, so I'm not really looking to load up on the NC Dinos bats tonight, tonight, this morning, whichever way you want to look at it. I mean, I still like Jay Kang, batting third. He's a first baseman, and he's a little bit expensive. He's $15 on FanDuel, $4,500 on DraftKings. I do like him as one of the guys in our player pool, but I think Altier is a little bit expensive at $5,200 DraftKings, $16 FanDuel, and then Sunbum Na's price is like through the roof, so I don't think it's really worth it. $6,000 DraftKings for Sunbum Na, or 17 FanDuel. So that's kind of what my logic is here, is that it's not a really juicy matchup for the Dinos. It's a decent matchup, and they're very expensive. So that's because of the rest of the slate. There's some really juicy matchups and really good pricing. That's kind of why I'm not going to be heavily invested in the Dinos. So that's kind of where I'm at with this game.
Yeah, this is a weird game for me. I don't know how many times, very seldom do I not like either pitcher, but I don't really like either hitting unit either. Very odd. I don't trust Soppold. He's let me down a few times. He's inconsistent, but he's not bad. I mean, he's only given up 2 homers. He's just one of those, middle of the road guys that I don't think is going to be a big scoring guy. But, he's, like you said, he's not going to get a lot of support. He's with Hanwha. They don't score for him. And there are a few bats in the Dinos order that can do some damage. I found it interesting to see that the presumed lineup that they put out has Altier batting cleanup, and the dude's been batting like 8th and 7th most of the year. He's moved up a little bit as they've gone, but I'm interested to see if he stays in that spot. Some of that is because the big money catcher's taken a day off, it looks like, and they're just moving him all the way up to 4th in his spot. Altier's been better. I think he's a dangerous guy, and I agree with you. Kang as well is decent. I don't blame you. I think Jayhawk Lee will be pretty well owned, but I don't really like his stuff that much. And I know Hanwha, it's great to play a pitcher against Hanwha or SK. You could make a living just doing that, but I just don't trust him. And Hanwha has 3 decent lefties batting first, second, and third, and then Hoying is also a lefty. So they do have some guys that can do some damage, but not enough that that would trump some of the one-offs and the specific. I really like a 4-man stack tonight. So as bizarre as this sounds, I may not have a representative pitching or hitting from this game.
Yeah, you might just fade the whole game. Yeah, I mean the reason why Jai Hawk Lee is a still a targeted pitcher is this slate is so bad with pitching. So like what you just said about him, I don't really like his stuff. I'm not sure if I trust him, even though he's in a great matchup. You're going to be saying that against about a lot of these pitchers in this slate.
True.
So when you look at the perspective of the other options available, like I said, if he can get a win, quality start on FanDuel, high strikeout rate for the Hanwha Eagles, and not give up very many runs, he's still going to be a viable target there. But yeah, I could see that where some people would want to fade him. So I don't blame you for that. But you could say that about almost any pitcher in this slate. That's the problem.
Oh, there's no plug and play pitchers, and I think you're right. I think he'll be highly owned, no question about it, and probably deservedly so. But he is a little pricey. So I think I'll move on. So second game. This game has piqued my interest, Mr. Sugar. Low T Giants 19-20, KT Wiz 7-22, and right now my bookie has Low T as a 133 favorite on the road, and they are a plus 112 on the run line. And this game is a 10.5 over under. So a lot of interest here. I'll just mention this to you and then I'll let you take the game over. But my favorite stack on the slate is the Low T Giants. And I'll tell you why. This Hyung Jun So from KTW, if you really look at some of his last performances, it's just terrible. I mean, he's given up 6 homers, which is a lot of home runs in 38 innings, 46 hits already, and just only 15 Ks and 10 walks. I just think that he is maybe the worst pitcher on the slate, or close there, to it. And some bizarre way, he's won some games. So I don't think people are going to stack against him as much as you would think, and I think some of that's because he's got 4 wins. But I love the Low T bats against him. Right on down that first 5 guys. I want to stack 3 or 4 of them on both sites with Asiop Son, Hoon Jung, Junwoo Jian, Daeho Lee, and of course Mr. Machado. So that is going to be my big focus today, and trying to basically put some one-offs from these other games in there with this Low T stack, and just hope they score 10, 15 runs tonight and get some heavy hitting from the top of that order. As far as KTW's side, Sampson is not good either. Big fat 8 ERA with only 1 win. You certainly could play Rojas tonight. He's the one-off that it's hard to pass up on. Good switch hitter in the 3-hole there. So he's really more so the one-off that I like the most. But Low T is what I'm all about in this game.
Okay, yeah. And that's probably good that we don't necessarily agree on everything. So I do like Low T, but I'm not looking to stack them like 3 or 4 guys. I'd be comfortable with maybe a few value plays. Like I was looking at Hoon Jung, if he bats second like he's projected, was like $9 on FanDuel or $3,900 DraftKings. That would be a good value play there. I do like Daeho Lee and Dixon Machado as well. I mean, they're both $10 on FanDuel if you want a power bat that's cheap.
Well, that's the thing, Shane, that I love so much. Not to interrupt you, but you can get that stack so inexpensive that your other one-offs can be like the Mel Rojas guys, and you can put stars around them. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So I think it's a great stack, but this is an interesting slate where there's 2 or 3 other teams that you could also make a great argument, because again, there's a lot of bad pitching and there's some loaded lineups against that bad pitching here, which we'll talk about with these other teams. So that's why, the Lotte it's a good stack. It might actually differentiate you a little bit, because these other teams, that we'll get to when we get to the Doosan and LG game, that's a really high total game as well, with loaded lineups and pretty pretty bad pitching. And then this game right here, Lotte and KT Wiz, is just both games went off last night for high totals, and we're expecting the same thing tonight. So I will say that you probably heard me talk about this guy. I really like Bak Ho Kang, batting cleanup. He's a lefty against Samson, the righty. Samson's not really that great, and Bak Ho Kang, since he came back last 2 games, he's hitting for power. He's hitting good. He got a double last night. So he didn't get the home run like Rojas, but I think those guys just literally alternate games with home runs. So I think Bak Ho Kang is due for a home run. He's 5,700 on DraftKings. It's a little expensive, but I think he's worth paying up. $16 on FanDuel. And with the platoon advantage here, I really like Bak Ho Kang. I think he's one of the most talented young hitters in the entire KBO. I think he's just a pure power hitter, and he's awesome. So I'm just really high on him. Nice. So he would be the type of guy I would play on a one-off. I really like KT Wiz is their leadoff batter, Jay Bay, and he's only $9 on FanDuel. He's been hot lately, and he's 2,700 on DraftKings. So if you want a cheap outfielder for 2,700, Jay Bay is good for a leadoff guy there. And then also at I think that's third base. Third base sometimes a little bit hard position. We have Jay Hwang here, and he's batting sixth, I think. But he's a pretty good hitter in a good matchup here, and he's actually really cheap on FanDuel. He's $8. But look at this discrepancy. He's $5,000 on DraftKings, but only $8 on FanDuel. So that's a good guy to get in there if you want a value play who's in a good matchup. So so I like all those plays there. This is another high scoring game, and it's a great one to target. Two bad pitchers and 2 pretty loaded lineups here. So yeah, it should be an exciting one.
I'll tell you, I'm sort of shocked that DraftKings and FanDuel have not adjusted pricing better, and they're so different. I mean, you get real bargain guys on one where they're super high priced on the other. It's just so bizarre.
It's unusual. I don't think they prioritize it. Maybe their algorithm isn't catching up, or they're not putting much data into the algorithm. Maybe I don't think they really care. Yeah, because don't get me started about the second baseman we're going to talk about from Doosan in a minute.
Exactly. Well, I
just laugh.
I look at it this way, though. I think it gives us a big advantage because we're following all this and we're sniffing out these guys that are mispriced. And there's nothing wrong with building half your lineup around value plays that are, blatantly mispriced, and then building guys around that. So we'll just jump right into that. The next game is Doosan at LG. Doosan's 23-16. LG is 25-14. And right now, Doosan is an underdog. So Andrew's probably going to be putting a few shekels on the Bears tonight, I bet.
Rare. Yeah.
LG Twins are minus 175, and it is a 10.5 over-under. So that is definitely an interesting line. I haven't seen Doosan that much of a dog in a while. It's interesting to see, and it also makes you wonder, why is Casey Kelly getting so much respect when his ERA is over 5 and he just hasn't been good, in my opinion. He just, he's not solid. So I think the name is, bigger than the guy for sure. What we had alluded to was Jay Cha from Doosan, the number 3 hitter. They keep lowering him. You can't low him any further. He's at $2,000 now. So if you don't start your lineup with Jay Cha batting third for Doosan at $2,000, then you are making a huge mistake because you just got to do it. I mean, the guy just rakes, and
he's still only $11 on FanDuel too.
Yeah, I don't understand it. It makes no sense. I mean, it's not been like 2 or 3 games. It's been 2 or 3 weeks that he's been raking in the middle of that order. So. Anyway, I don't like either one of these pitchers. I'm not a Casey Kelly guy. I haven't been from the beginning. Jong Ji Park, another 6.43 ERA guy, 10.5 over under. This is where I want to try to, pick the meat off the bone and get some 1 or 2 man stacks, or one man grabs from one of these teams, or a little tiny 2 man stack, I think you could make a case for you got to have Cha. Jay Kim is priced high. Fernandez, of course, if we're getting the cheap Lodi stack like I am, you can certainly consider him. Lefty batting against Kelly, and he's just been murdering right-handed pitching. And then there's some really solid plays for LG. Ramos is always in play, priced fairly at first base. And then, C. Lee, Hyung So Kim, and Che, all 4 of the guys, even though you guys make fun of Che because he looks like a nerd with the big glasses and all that.
Yeah, he can see the ball better, though. Right?
I know. From every angle with those big glasses. Yeah. But all 4 of those guys, I don't have any problem rostering any of the meat of the order for either one of these teams. Like I say, I'm not a big fan of the pitching. I think that for some reason Kelly will still get ownership, and people will fade some of these Doosan bats. But Fernandez, Cha's an automatic. You got to look at both Kims batting 4th and 5th, and I wouldn't blame you for stacking this game, to be honest with you. And it's probably fairly contrarian because of Kelly. But I'm probably going to try to grab two Doosan and see if I can cherry pick one of the LG guys out that are going to go deep tonight.
Yeah, so that's where I'm a little different. I really like the LG Twins, and obviously that's why they're favored in this matchup against Jung-Ji Park. He hasn't really pitched a full game this year. He's been a reliever. He hasn't really pitched a full game in a couple years. He's really not that great. He doesn't have good stuff. So I just feel like they're going to completely annihilate this pitcher. And this now you combine that with the LG Twins already being hot right now. Almost all their bats are hot, and I feel like they have a ton of momentum. So I really like. This sounds stupid, but really you could go with anyone batting in the top 7. They're all really hot, and they're very good value price. For example, batting 5th, proposed to bat 5th, is outfielder Young Tae Park, and he's only $2,100 on DraftKings. So here's another guy minimum price, and this guy's been really hot lately. He's been really good, and $8 on FanDuel. So he's right there in the heart of that order. I expect the LG Twins to put up huge numbers tonight, so I like that. Ramos disappointed last night, really dropped the ball. He's been a little bit cold lately. He's actually the coldest guy in this lineup, but the guy is one of the best hitters in the entire league, in a great matchup. He's probably due.
He's due. He was dinged up a little bit for a while too. So
he just came back.
Just getting back to it.
Yep. So he'll have the lefty-righty matchup there, the platoon advantage. Che's still solid. Che's pretty low priced at $3,100 and on DraftKings, $13 on FanDuel. Hyung So Kim is a little more expensive, so if you were going to fade one guy, but he also had some monster games, so he's $15 on FanDuel or $5,200 on DraftKings. Even the leadoff hitter C. Lee is lefty on righty matchup. He's only $3,100 on DraftKings or $9 on FanDuel. So like I said, and you can even go all the way down to 7. Shortstop Ji Hwan Oh is hitting really good as well at $3,100 on DraftKings or $9 on FanDuel. So, I hate to say it, but like you can pick or choose. You can also take the catcher because it's hard to find a good catcher that's hitting for power and average there. Kang Nam Yu batting 6th, and he's $4,000 on DraftKings, and he's $10 on FanDuel. So, like I said, I absolutely love this, and I wouldn't have any issue taking 3 or 4 guys out of that LG stack.
That's your key stack there. Yeah, are you backing Kelly? The pitcher?
No. I don't really like Kelly because he is inconsistent and he's going against Doosan. Yeah. So it's still a good matchup. So I just feel like it's going to be another really high scoring game, except for it's going to be flipped in this, or last night it was Doosan just laying it on him. I think LG is going to lay it on him tonight, and Doosan will still put up some runs, but not enough to keep up with the LG Twins here. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. It's kind of like last night's game getting out of hand, but hopefully flip it here. So it's hard to trust Kelly. You could play him if you were really risky GPPs, but he's super expensive on DraftKings for considering the matchup. $9,300 on DraftKings for Casey Kelly. FanDuel, you can get it. You could play him at $24, but the likelihood of he might not get the win as well. He's not very likely to get the win because the fact that they're not going to be able to stop the LG offense, I don't think either. So that I'm just very interested in the hitters, and definitely on. I will mention on the Doosan side, their catcher, Say Hayuk Park, is also really good. Another platoon advantage left-handed hitter against Casey Kelly, and he's only $2,800 on DraftKings. So if you want to pay down at catcher a little bit and still get some good hit for average, and also their shortstop from Doosan, Jae Ho Kim, is batting fifth, and he's only $2,500 on DraftKings there. Their leadoff hitter, Kung Woo Park, is only $3,300. So they have a great value plays in there. And DraftKings, for some reason, thinks Casey Kelly is like an elite matchup because they keep lowering the prices of these guys. Jay Cho, like we talked about, is a pretty much lead pipe lock. Just lock him into your lineup at $2,000 and probably on FanDuel at $11. And the thing is, his prices went down on DraftKings. It was ridiculously low when it was in the mid 2,500s. And then it's went down, even though the guy has had like multiple 20-point fantasy games and 30-point fantasy games. So that's very strange. I mean, Casey Kelly's not that great. So you kind of have to play him and just you're happy with the results no matter what because he's just an obvious play.
I'm with you. I mean, for some reason, maybe we're wrong. Maybe Kelly goes out there and throws 8 shutout innings or something, but I haven't seen him having the potential to do that. But Vegas obviously thinks that, with the minus 175 and, the Doosan bats being cheaper than they have been. So very interesting, but I like the fade of Kelly personally. I think that he'll be way over-owned. All right, let's keep rocking. Let's go to game 4. SK Wyverns against the Kiwoom Heroes. SK is 12-27. Kiwoom is 23-17. And Vegas has Kiwoom Heroes at minus 175. So they're also, like the Twins, the second highest favorite on the board. This game, however, also has a 10.5 over-under. And there certainly are some bats that can come into play here with, a couple of interesting pitchers. I mean, it's hard to back a pitcher from SK, but Jeon-Wook Lee is their best pitcher. He's a sub-3 ERA. He's got to win, but man, you've got to be digging and have some guts to play an SK pitcher, especially against a team with some good bats like Kiwoom. Young Jun Joe from Kiwoom did not impress me last time out. He is not, I don't think, going to go deep into this game. There is a plethora of Kiwoom bats. That's a team we stack a lot. SK, you can find a few good plays there. Romac and a few guys that have the ability to go deep. For me, this game isn't a key game. Again, I'm not counting on either one of these pitchers, but the SK pitcher is just good enough that it doesn't make me want to stack Kiwoom. I'll probably just be a one-off in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the pitcher Jeon-Wook Lee from SK because I do like kind of targeting Kiwoom. They haven't been as good lately, their bats, and they are striking out at a high rate. So you can target them a little bit. The problem is this Jeon-Wook Lee guy is typically limited to about 80 pitches, and he hasn't pitched more than 5 innings. So he's really not striking out at, he's done an okay strikeout rate, but he's so limited on his amount of pitches. And Kiwoom is talented enough to get him. So normally if I felt like this is a guy that could go 6 or 7 innings, I might feel a little better about it. But I'm not really loving it just because of the fact I don't think he's going to make it that long, and Kiwoom could get him. But Kiwoom, I'm not really focusing on them because there's so much value and such good matchups with other matchups in the slate. I'm kind of fading Kiwoom because they've disappointed lately. They've kind of burned us a few times, I think. I know they burned us. Haven't really done much to the expectations. I know we love Jung-Ho Lee and he's really talented. So I think that's probably the only one-off I would be comfortable with is Jung-Ho Lee. Like we typically play him a lot because he does have the platoon advantage in a pretty good matchup. I do like Jamie Romac. He's $13 on FanDuel. I feel like that's a good power cleanup hitter. in a great matchup against Gun Joe for Ki Woon. And I do like Jeong Cha from SK. He's batting third, and he's expensive on DraftKings at 5,400, but there's not that many third basemen that are that good on DraftKings. So being that there's the third baseman pool is not that deep, you can pay up to be a little contrarian there, and he's got a great matchup. That guy could definitely rake in this matchup. So I like those guys as a couple one-offs, and maybe Jung Ho Lee. But right now I'm just a little frustrated with Ki Woon. They're kind of cold right now. They haven't done very well, and I don't know that they're going to be able to snap out of it yet.
Well, and this will be an interesting one. I mean, those top three hitters for Ki Woon for me are all in play. I'm probably, like I say, only going to grab one of them, but Seo, Kim, and Lee are all lefties going against Lee, so they have that right. They have that platoon advantage. And H. Kim, their shortstop, he's expensive as well, but he's been hitting the ball. So I'm not, I'm not against taking a few of those guys. It's just they are expensive. And so you got to make sure you can fit them. There is enough value on this card, where you could take a Lee Kim mini stack 3-4 for Ki Woon and feel pretty good about it. So, I'd keep your options open there. I agree with you. Cha from SK is decent. Third baseman. I mean, he's been consistent. He is pricey, and Romack is still a decent price. But it's hard when you only get one first baseman with all these good first basemen out there. So, all right, let's knock this out so we can get this up for folks to check out. The last game, have you noticed how many pitchers I've taken so far?
Yeah, I know. Me too. That's the problem. Yeah,
I haven't taken any.
Yeah, you haven't taken any. Exactly.
So
this is the pitcher game.
This is the pitcher game. I am going to do something that I don't mind doing. I actually have had success doing this on several occasions in the majors, and it's worked in KBO. It usually works great, or it backfires, But I would love to get this Samsung Kia game to be 1-0 because I like both of these pitchers. I think M and Juan are both solid enough pitchers to get it done. They can strike guys out. Samsung has not hit the ball great lately. Kia has some guys that are hot, but I'm not crazy about the bottom of Kia's order, those bottom 4 or so guys. So I think in a night where it's just devoid of pitching, Andrew and I had a slate 3 nights ago where there were like 5 superstar pitchers on it. Tonight we have 0. So I'm going to go with that old theory that, these are the 2 pitchers I like the best. The fact that they're going against each other, I'm not going to let that intimidate me. And, I think these 2 guys can get into a good old-fashioned pitching duel. But I will tell you on the MyBookie odds for that game, and then you can give us your breakdown, is you've got Samsung as a dog. So Kia's a 158 home favorite. They're plus 125 on the run line. So if you really like Kia, that run line bet is juicy. The over-under in this game is 9.5. That made me feel better. That's one of the 2 lower ones. And so, sometimes you got to roll the dice with a little bit of a lineup build theory, and that's what I think I'm going to roll with tonight.
Well, I would tell you that normally I don't really like that strategy as much because having the 2 pitchers 1 game, because it limits.
People don't.
Yeah, it's a little risky. It limits the upside of one of the pitchers. You can't get, you can't get the win or anything like that, which is like a nice bonus. Sure. I would tell you on this slate, it's a viable strategy though, because the pitching is so ridiculous on this slate, not in a good way, so I think that you could use that strategy to differentiate yourself in this slate. I would tell you that Ki Young Im from Kia, I think is going to be the highest owned pitcher. I think he's going to be very chalky. He's pretty reasonably priced on DraftKings at 7,600. So I think his ownership is going to be really high.
He's underpriced too. That's the other piece that I like. Yep.
Yeah, he's very underpriced. If you want to get creative though and set yourself apart, because I think M could be upwards of 80 to 90% owned, you could go with Ja-Hak Lee from NC Dinos that I was talking about, and then take the Samsung pitcher instead, Tai-E Woon. because I think that he's pretty good as well, and he's about the same price as him. If you wanted to differentiate yourself there, I think he's a good value at 7,700 on DraftKings there. I think that Kia is decent, but they're not great. I think that the Samsung lineup has been heating up a little bit lately. They've played a little better. And not quite as easy just to go through like they were earlier in the season. So I feel like they're not quite as good a matchup as they were earlier in the year, and people are still assuming that. So they're like definitely just attack Samsung with the Kia pitcher here. So that's why I do kind of like, if you want to differentiate, going with the Samsung pitcher instead. And then for Samsung, I still do like Saladino batting third. He's $4,700 on DraftKings. So I think that he's still a good value. And I think, is he eligible for one of the other positions, or is he an outfielder?
He has been outfield in short or outfield in third, so I'm not sure.
Third. That's what I was thinking. He's eligible at third base, which, like I was mentioning earlier, there's not much depth at third base. So he's a guy you'll target at DraftKings for third base. And I do like Hak-Ju Lee. He's a good lefty from them. He bats fifth from Samsung. But overall, their lineups played a little bit better. And then you could still look at Preston Tucker from Kia, their superstar there. He's starting to heat up again now, and he could still get them. But it's if you're looking at these two pitchers, you're not going to be looking at a lot of hitters, obviously.
No,
but yeah,
not Tucker, for me. But
Tucker's still good, and then they have. Ji-Wan Na is batting cleanup, but again, because the lineups, those stacks are so good for those other teams we talked about, for Lotte and KT Wiz, and Duzen has some crazy value plays, and then LG is loaded, in my opinion. That's why we're not targeting these as much. Plus, we like the pitchers more here. So so I think that's a viable strategy to go with the two pitchers. I like the playing Hak Lee, the pitcher from the Dinos, and pairing him with maybe Samsung's pitcher Juan, if you want to differentiate and get different, because Young Im from Kia is going to be really highly owned, and it could be for good reason. He's definitely the highest strikeout rate with a pretty good matchup here, but I just feel like Samsung might still be able to get him for some runs tonight, and that's why I think it may be a good viable strategy that you could create a huge edge if you fade him and Samsung ends up getting him tonight.
Well, the good thing about tonight's slate is you're going to see a real variance in builds. I mean, it's not a chalk night at all, in my opinion. I think you're going to see all kinds of different strategies, which will make it pretty wide open. So, I love that as a cash player, because then, you don't have to eat the chalk on a bunch of guys and be worried about, passing on somebody that's, got to play catch up on the points. So I think it's a good night, man. I think it's great. For me, it's about a 3-star slate, like middle of the road to decent. What about you? Do you have a slate rating?
Yeah, you got to go 3-star, because with the pitching, and there's a lot of unknowns here. And it's really hard, and there's some great stacks, but it's a matter of hitting the right players in the stack, because some of these teams have 5 or 6 guys that are really good, and you probably aren't going to be able to play them all. So but definitely the pitching is a big question mark here, and I think I said the Kia pitcher M is going to be the highest owned. He's the only guy that I look at as completely chalky on this slate here.
We'll find out. I don't think he's going to be as owned as you think, but I do think he will garner some decent ownership. I think Kelly's going to get way more ownership than he should. But all right, man, we got to wrap this up so we can get it out there to our members and to folks out there that are building some KBO lineups for tonight. I want to thank MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag for all of your action, and tvg.com, or catch them on TVG 1 and 2 on just about every cable network. Also, our charity of choice, we mentioned at the end of every show, mambaon3.org, all spelled out, mambaontree.org. Fantastic charity set up by the Bryan family. And with that, that's about it. We've gone over our Twitter. Now it's just a matter of getting out there, building some lineups, and staying hot. I'm hoping to ride a KBO and PGA wave here this weekend. So any final words, Mr. Sugar Shane?
On DraftKings, you're going to be able to really capitalize with some of these value plays that I have. They will be on our player pull sheet. And some of these guys near $2,000 that I think are going to have an excellent game tonight. So that allows you to load up on some big bats and other positions there if you want to go with 3 top sluggers. Like if you wanted to, load up on, Ramos and Rojas and Tucker or something like that, it'll be easy to do something like that and still have good value with the other slots. So the lineup construction looks really good with those nice sneaky value plays that we have on DraftKings. So that's a good thing.
Excellent, man.
Yeah.
All right, we'll close it down. Great job as usual, man. Very in depth. Love doing the shows with you. We haven't been doing that many of that lately, it seems like. So It's a lot of fun, man. All right, let's wrap it up so we can get this sucker posted. Thank you for jumping in here and listening to us tonight. Let's make some money in KBO and just keep building the pot and getting ready for the return of some of the big sports coming up. But no reason why we can't take advantage of the mispricings and some people not adjusting lineups in KBO and then some of the PGA action too. So it's fun times, man. All right. Thank you so much for joining us for DFS Coach Talk. I am Coach for my main man, Shane, Sugar Shane, and our buddy Andrew Hansen, otherwise known as Mr. Language Olympic. I am Coach, and we'll catch you again tomorrow. Actually, I won't catch you tomorrow because I'll be at a wedding, but Sugar Shane and Andrew will as they look to crush it in DFS.